All right, got all the parts cleaned and ready to go for reassembly. Before I do that, I'm going to just check the rotor and the stator to make sure we've got continuity and basically don't have any short circuits. What I'll do is just check using a standard meter here. What I'm looking for is not the out of limits high, the OL. I'm just looking for, as I go across the two parts of the motor circuit here, do I have a number? So it's looking at, here, let me do this. So as I go across, yep, so I've got continuity. So the motor is, or the stator part, sorry, the rotor part is okay. And I'll do the same thing on the stator. So let me just put that in view. It's a little easier because I can put the motor here. And what I'm going to do is look across all three combinations. So, and make sure that I've got continuity. Yep. All right. Yep. And then these two. Yep. So the stator and the rotor, we're okay. Now, one of the things I said I was going to do is clean all of the internals and test all the internal parts. And I had a couple things that just weren't working right. And then what I needed was the brush assembly to work. And then I started looking at the brushes, and there's not a whole lot of meat left on those. So I needed to replace the brush assembly. Started looking at the capacitor and thinking, man, this is an electrolytic capacitor. They don't last forever, and it's been over 50 years now. So I needed a new one of those, and then I needed new bearings because I'm not going to put old bearings in. And it got to the point where all the pieces, parts, if I bought them individually, would have been relatively expensive. So I bought a kit, a rebuild kit. And that had all the things that I needed plus. So I'm putting all new internals in. I've got a nice exploded diagram here. I'll give you my sources in the video. But this is what I'm using to help make sure I don't miss anything as I'm going along. First thing I'm going to do is take the back of the alternator, and I'm going to install the needle bearing assembly first. I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to press it in, and what I'm going to do is line up the back of the needle bearing to be flush with the boss here. So what I'll do is put a flat piece across this, press it in, and once it stops pushing in, that'll be flush. Oh yeah, I have put a little bit of assembly lube on the inside of the bore, just so it's not a dry fit. All right, the bearing is in. That wasn't too hard. And it's nice and flush, so no issue with that at all. Before I assemble anything, I like to lay out all the screws and nuts to make sure that I've got what I need and I don't get them mixed up. I've got for the longer screws, I've got actually three different types. Three with washers underneath, but this fourth one here is a little bit shorter than these three. This one's for the rectifier. These four I haven't figured out yet, but that's okay. I'll get to it when I get to it. And I've got two different styles of, and two different sizes of the shorter nuts, or shorter bolts. And then I've got 5 bolts with, or, geez, Mike, 5 nuts with a washer built in, and 5 others that don't. I've also got the terminal stud that's all prepackaged, so I can't screw that one up. At least I try not to. So what I'm going to do first is put the rectifier in, and I'm going to use this bolt, or this screw, whatever. It's a little small, so it's a screw, for the rectifier. So looking at the back half of the alternator, the rectifier goes in. One end is where the bulkhead will go, and the other end is down here. So there's two screws that hold it in. And I'll put the first screw that I pointed out earlier in here. And that's actually kind of a through screw. It's really great because it's steel versus aluminum, so it's going to corrode in place. And then whoever rebuilds this, see, there it goes through the back. Whoever rebuilds this in the future will have to drill it out just like I did. All right, kind of hard. All right, for the terminal stud, I've got this plastic insert that goes into the hole here, and that also prevents the screw from twisting. I'll flip it back over, put it down immediately on the cardboard so it doesn't fall out, and then I've got a washer, lock washer, and a nut, and that will complete that assembly. We'll tighten it up, but that'll be basically the end of putting the rectifier in place. Okay, so this is the tricky part. Okay, I've got the regulator inserted. This is where the external wires are going to go. The brush holder and the tri-diode and the resistor all go in next, and there's a specific order that they go in. The brush holder can go in first, and you just sit it there. Now it's going to have to be screwed in place. This is, I'll squeeze it a little bit, but it'll be screwed in place. Then we're going to have the tri-diode go in, but the screw also has to go in on top of that. So I'll put the tri-diode on first, and that's in place. And then I'll put the resistor in, and notice there's insulators around these screws. And then I put that one in. And those also go on with a 1/4 inch wrench, a 1/4 inch socket. And there's another screw that goes in the back here. All right. It's being held in place enough for now. All right, got the capacitor put in place and tightened to the rectifier. The strap that came with the kit didn't fit, so good thing I kept the old one. I did trim it a little bit, but it was just too wide, and didn't sit down all the way. So there's a nice valley that the capacitor body sits in. So just cleaned up the strap, put it in. The tri-diode nuts, they are 3/8 inch nuts, and those are, again, just tightened hand tight. So now I've got basically the bottom half here, except I haven't put the I can't tighten those up yet. I've got to put the stator in place and hook that up to the tri-diodes. So I'll do that next. The stator's now in place. That gets aligned basically just through the through holes in the casing. The tri-diode nuts are in place. Everything is where it should be. Looks pretty good. A lot cleaner than it was when I took it apart. All right, next thing is to put the rotor in. And you'll notice on the side here there's a pin that goes through the brushes. That pin is just there to hold the brushes in place. Once the rotor is put in place, that pin is pulled. The pin comes through the back side, so I can pull it out from there. So I'll put the rotor in and then pull the pin. I almost forgot the spacer. It actually just acts like a seal against the grease from the roller bearings. There is a rubber seal essentially on the bottom of the rotor just before you get to the slip rings. I press the front bearing in, again using a shop press, and a little bit of assembly lube. It gets bottomed into the frame. Once you've got that, there is a cover that holds it in place, and a little bit of a bushing, and those just get screwed in. Outside of the alternator, holding the fan on, I backed up a little bit and realized I needed to fix a few things as well. Just from my knowledge, I didn't do it right. So one of the things I'm not putting on is this resistor. The resistor is not needed. It was not in my original alternator. It's not needed because I do have an indicator light, and the resistor is used as a part of the excitement or the exciting circuit, as a replacement for an indicator light. So since I have one, I don't need the resistor. The other thing I did wrong in this part of the process is that I put the insulating screws in this hole and this hole. They go in here and here. So I'm just going through and redoing that. So I'll put the tri-diode on. Get that in place. Put my insulating screws in here, and the non-insulating one in here. And I'll tighten that up, and then I'll put the stator back in. This is the correct orientation of the screws and the removal of the resistor. So this is the configuration that I had when I took the original alternator apart. So there is okay, so now we're going to assemble the other half of the alternator. I've learned that these two bushings, they're both different heights. The thicker one, or the one that's wider, goes on the inside, and that sits in there, and that sits proud of the cover. And then the one on the outside, or the thinner one, goes on the outside, and I'll get to that in a minute. If you get these mixed up, your rotor face will rub against here, and it won't turn. So that needs to interface with this face of the rotor. Okay, so I'm gonna basically put this together one-handed, flip it upside down. There we go. Put that one on, then we put on the fan, put on the pulley, the washer, and the nut. The nut is torqued to 60 foot-pounds. I don't have a way of doing that easily. The instruction manual I read to put this together said put the rotor in a vise, but very gently. You don't want to put a dent in it or anyways, I'm not doing that. What I'm going to do is the good old hex wrench and 15/16 wrench, and then basically tighten it up by hand. Once you've got it tightened up, you should be able to just spin it by hand. If you can't spin it, you got an issue. You got something binding. So that works. All right. So what I'm going to do is line it up. I do have the I put the pin back in the brushes, as you can see here, and I'm just going to gently guide this in. There. Two halves are together now. Now I'm going to look for my match marks. Let's see. There they are. Those two match marks right there. Okay. And then I just, as I did before, I put the screws in. Make sure my stator internally is lined up in the slot, and then put it all together. So again, I can do this off camera, but I have 4 of these to put in. Okay, so everything is put back together. The only thing I need to do now is pull the pin out again for the brushes. That's done. Motor spins freely. That's great. I did have some hardware left over. It looks like Maniac Electric Motors provides more in their kit than what each individual alternator needs. So it sounds like it's probably for multi versions. Any case, I think I'm very happy with what I've got here. It looks good. It's not 100% show, but this car is a driver.